Hey everybody, Squatch Reloading here. Today is the day we're going to start doing our 10mm load development. We're going to do 50 rounds, and we're going to have subgroups of 10. And the reason I do 10 is I take 5 to run across my chronograph so I get a good average, a high and a low, and then I put 5 down on paper to kind of measure the accuracy. So things we're going to need today is a notebook. We're going to make sure that we keep good records of our loads, our powder charges, our links, everything, our chronograph speeds, so we can apply that to make a decision on which load that we are going to pick to be our bulk load that we're going to move over to our XL750. Today we're going to use one of my favorite powders for 10mm, Blue Dot. We're going to need primers, and we're going to use just standard large pistol primers. We are going to need our bullets from Accurate Outdoors. Of course, a good set of calipers so we can measure lengths, double check some of our dimensions, our Dillon case gauge, and then some sizing wax. And again, on these dies, they're titanium carbide. Case lubricant is not necessary. I just prefer to use it. And then for dropping our powder charges today, we're going to go ahead and use our Frankfurt Arsenal IntelliDropper. I've had a lot of good success with that powder dispenser. I like it a lot for the price point. I've done a video on that in the past, so go check it out, one of my older ones. But it's very, very reliable, and we can dial in and move from charge to charge pretty quick. And we're only doing 50, so it works out great. So let's get started. First things first, we're going to size and expand and put our primers in. And then we're going to go step by step. So here we go. Alright guys, so I got 50 cartridges here. These have already been cleaned, decapped, so we're ready to size those. So let's go ahead and get these lubed up with our sizing wax, and then we're going to start loading up some primers.
So now we're going to lube all these cases up, and I'm using, again, the Redding and Imperial Sizing Dye Wax, and I'm just getting my fingers coated there, and it does not take much. I mean, typically that little bit that I put on right there, you know, I can get five done pretty easy, maybe even a little more. You kind of get a feel for it. So there we got 6. So I'm just rubbing it on a little bit. And I'll get it with both of my hands here. And we'll get all 50 of these for our load development. We'll get all these lubed up. Alright, so we're finishing getting these cases lubed. Again with our sizing wax. And again, it does not take much. So now that we got these finished up, we're going to move on to getting the primers installed. And then we're going to do sizing and expansion, and also install the primers into these.
Alright guys, we got our primers in our flip tray there. They're all the right direction. So all we need is our Redding pickup tube. Just looks a lot like one of the Dillons. This one is all aluminum, but it works essentially the same way. So let's get these primers picked up. Okay, so installing the primers in our pickup tube is pretty simple on this on the Redding system here. We're going to put the cotter pin in down, slide it into the threaded adapter there, and then we're going to pull the cotter pin. It's that simple. And then we need to make sure we get our safety shroud on. So it's going to slide right over top of the primer tube, and then we're just going to thread it down and hand tight. Now to charge the system, we're going to pull back on the knob, and it's going to charge a primer for us. Okay guys, so we have all of our cartridges. They're all been lubed up. We've got our primers installed. And how I do this is I put the bases down to start off with, so I can do a quick inspection of the case mouse, look for any cracks or anything obvious. And then also I peek down to make sure that there's no media in any of the flash holes. So how we're going to do this is we're going to size and expand and install the primer. And then as we put these back in our load block, we're going to put them primer side up so we can inspect everything as we move along. So here we go. Okay guys, we have our turret all set to go. Again, there's a million ways that you guys can do this, but what I like to do is do, if I can, 2 dies at once. And in this case, we're going to do our size and expansion. So we're going to make just a back and forth motion on our turret. And then in our next operation, we're going to seat and crimp. So to do this process, we're going to take a cartridge, install it into our shell holder. We're going to confirm that we have a primer set, and we do. So to charge this system, we just pull back. It's like we're pulling our charging handle there on our AR. So we're going to size, and on our downstroke, we're going to push the primer bar forward and then continue to push on our handle, and make sure you get a good firm push forward. It's going to reset, index our turret, and do our expansion. And now we're just resetting everything for the next cartridge. So again, we're going up, doing our sizing, pushing forward on our slide bar to install our primer, good firm push, index our turret, expand, and then reset. And now we repeat. So we'll finish these up, and then I'll show you what our next inspection is going to be. Okay guys, so you can see we have our load block full here. And what I like to do is start off with the case mouse up. So I'm doing like an up, down, as I'm going through the process. So I make sure that I do inspections on the critical points that we just completed. And in our last step, we installed the primers. So what I'm looking for is that there is none that have been put in sideways. There's none that are backwards. None of them have spent, somehow got mixed in. And I'm also looking that they're sub-flush to the head of or the base of the cartridge there. So we're going to continue on doing our inspections here, and now we're about ready to start putting powder in these. Okay guys, so our first charge weight according to our load data is going to be 9.4 grains. And this is on the lower medium side, but we're going to go ahead and use our Frankfurt Arsenal IntelliDropper and our powder funnel here. And then we are going to do 10. And I only work in subgroups of 10, so I don't get any of my cartridges mixed up. But here we go. So we're looking for 9.4. Okay, so we use our powder funnel. And then we're going to repeat this process 10 times till we get our first subgroup of 10 done. Okay, so now that we have our first 10 done at our first charge weight, what I like to do is at this point I'll take my press light, and you guys have seen them on my channel. In fact, I give one away. But I like to go through and look at each case individually and make sure that I have powder in each case. Okay, so now that we have our first subgroup done at our first charge weight, I like to work in batches where I'm not going back and forth or doing a whole shell or a load block full of different charges. I like to work methodically at one charge at a time. So we're going to take our cartridge, and this is a good chance to go ahead and double check and make sure that you got powder in there. We're going to do our seat and then crimp. So we're going to place our Accurate Outdoors bullet on top. We're going to seat, index the turret, and then crimp. And then we'll continue this process until we complete our first subgroup of 10. Alright, so we got our first 10 complete in our load development. So we need to repeat this process 5 more times, or maybe 6. Maybe 6 times. But anyways, if you want to see this process again, just rewind the video. But we're going to repeat this, and we're going to fast forward until we get this complete. Okay, so we finished setting up our test loads here. A little disclaimer, guys. Hey, work within published load data. That is what's going to keep you safe. You might see things that I do on here, and I'm not in any by any means telling you that's what you should do. What you should do is stick to published load information and load accordingly. With that being said, we finished up our 5 10-round subgroups here. So we have our 5 powder charges, and then also, while I was off camera there, I did a Squatch load. So we won't get into the details of that, but we're going to see the results of that. You know, one thing with 10mm, guys, the reason I got into reloading a lot of 10mm, aside from the cost, is when it come to factory ammo offerings, it was pretty weak. And what I'm saying is it was basically just a long cartridge 40 Smith & Wesson. You know, for plinking and target and stuff like that. Like I said, I like to hunt with one of my 10mm, and you know, to you know, practice with, let's say, Arms Corps 180 grain round nose. Those average velocities are 1,000, basically 1,008 feet per second. And the hunting rounds that I use have a velocity of a little over 1,425 feet per second. So, you know, to play with, you know, plinking Arms Corps type ammo isn't going to be representative of what I'm going to use out in the field. As far as factory ammo, you know, as far as a full power 10mm or a, you know, I don't want to say hot, but a very representative hunting round 10mm that you can buy for target practice and things like that. If you're not a reloader, is Fiocchi. They have some 180 grain round nose hollow points that get up there a little over 1,250 feet per second. It's advertised. I was seeing a little bit quicker velocities out of my my Glock G40 10mm. So the next step in this process is we're going to test the loads that we did. We're going to go ahead and use my hunting Glock here, and just to show everyone, it is unloaded. But this is a 6-inch G40 Gen 4 10mm, and I'll you know, get into more details on this when we get out doing our testing. But again, we're gonna go through each load, the Squatch load as well, and we're gonna check for accuracy, check our velocities, and then once we have a load that we like, that we're gonna mass produce, we'll move everything over onto the XL 750, which I'm really excited about, because that tool head sitting over there on my bench it's calling my name. So that's going to wrap up this video, guys. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments below. Don't forget to check me out over on Instagram and Facebook at Squatch Reloading. All these videos are on Utah Gun Exchange, Gunstreamer, and the Reloaders Network. So until next time, guys, God bless.